yun. Pwede ba bigyan mo ko kahit konting pinya? Tingin sa kanya naman sa Simon Pedro. Sabi niya, bakit? Nasaan ka? Nung nagtatanim ako dito sa init ng araw, muulan, bumabagyo, nasan ka nun? Nasan ka nun? Nagbubog ka lang ng lupa. Nasan ka nun? Nasan ka nun? Nag-aararo ako dito, tapos pilit kong pinapasaan yung mga pinya, buhat ko. Habang naghahawi ako ng mga ahas sa daan, nasan ka? Sabi ni Juan, ay, pasensya ka na. Nakulong kasi ako eh. Tagal. Sabi ni Pedro, ha? Bakit ka nakulong? May napatay ako eh. Sabi niya, sino? Doon, sa kabilang baryo. Sabi niya, bakit? Eh kasi ang damot. Sabi ni Pedro, o sige, ito, ang dami kong pinya dito. Halika, kuha ka. Meron pa ako sa doon. Gusto mo pa? That's not a true story, by the way. But you know, that happens. Sometimes you advance in life, you get it good, and sometimes you reach fame and fortune, but what happens? You forget the very people who were with you when you were still broke, poor, and unpopular. Or you get so good at what you do in life. You become a master's, or you become PhD, or you get a doctorate, and all of a sudden, you reject the feedback of people. You don't like being criticized by people because who in the world are they to tell me that I'm wrong? Can I confess something? I have to watch it sometimes, especially being a leader or being, a person of the Lord, that I never get to a place where people can no longer criticize what I do. Because I know when I arrive in that place and time, I know that it's all about me now. It's no longer about what God is doing through me. I have to be very careful. And there are times when people give me criticisms, I feel offended. Has that ever happened to you? You know your heart is pure, your intention is good, but then you feel offended. That's when I know that it's no longer, the God side of me. It's my ego that's talking. The ego is a good thing, my friends, because your ego will protect you. Protect you from getting hurt, will protect you from being harmed. But when your ego gets so big, what happens? You start making it all about you, and you're no longer able to be corrected by people. God's correction is also His affection. Sometimes the only way that God can correct you is by allowing you to be humiliated, allowing you to be embarrassed, because how in the world can God kill your pride if you never fall in life? So that's what happens. They became so arrogant, the people of Babel. And sometimes when that happens, when you become arrogant, the actual blessing becomes a curse. What God meant to bless you with, the enemy is now using to destroy you with. Now, how do you solve this? I got a simple answer. Would you like to know how you solve this? Making it feel like, sometimes you want to make a name for yourself and you think that it's always about you. You want to know how? Ask me how. Simple. As much as you can, you go to the cross. Go to the cross. Why? Because only at the cross will your self-inflated version of yourself be reduced to the proper size. Because, man, when you look at the cross, you realize, you think that you're all that. But then you see what Jesus did. You see that He's all great and He's all powerful. It reduces you to the proper size of your ego. Only at the cross when you realize that, my gosh, even if I'm so imperfect, even if I'm so limited, I am completely and deeply loved by this God. Can we clap our hands for the love of God? So live at the cross. Live at the cross. Check out what happens next. And then they said, in verse 4, come, let's build a great city for ourselves. Everybody say, for ourselves.
For ourselves.
With a tower that reaches into the sky. This will make us famous and keep us from being scattered all over the world. The NIV version says, let us make a name for ourselves. This is a picture of our arrogance. How we like to erect monuments in our name. We like to glorify ourselves because we love receiving medals and achievements and trophies and all this. And that's good. We celebrate all those victories. But the moment it starts getting into your head and into your heart, what happens? Your head becomes so big. It becomes so big that you're no longer. You try to make a name for yourself. But here's the thing. The author is saying that they wanted fame. right? We want to be famous. But if you study the Bible, and this is the reason why the Bible is amazing, you've got to really sit down and study the Bible. The author says a word. He says, come, let's build a great big city for ourselves with a tower that reaches into where? The sky. In the Jewish language, when you hear the word sky, it represents that place where God is divine. That only space that God can occupy. So not only that they were saying that we want to be famous, you know what they really wanted? They wanted to be God. They wanted to be God. Isn't this pointing us somewhere? Little deja vu. Adam and Eve, who, instead of just being satisfied with being God images, they wanted to be God. And this is a problem with a lot of us. You know, we're not content with who we are. We want more. We want more. We want to become God in our own sense. We want to make a name for ourselves. And that's what's happening to the people of Babel. They wanted a name for themselves. And then so what did God do? God scattered them. Everybody say scattered them. God divided them. It says here, the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of man had built. And the Lord said, behold, they are one people and they have all one language. And this is the only beginning of what they will do. And nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them. So God said, come, let us go down there and confuse their language so that they may not understand one another's speech. So what did the Lord do? The Lord dispersed them from there over the face of the earth. And then they left off building the city. They stopped doing it. Therefore, its name was called Babel. You know this already. Because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth. And from there the Lord dispersed them from all over the face of the earth. In a way, you know, when God dispersed the people of Babel, this was like God's judgment, right? God's judgment. I mean, they sinned against God. So it's God's judgment. When you hear those two words, or maybe even just that one word, judgment, what's the first thing that comes into your mind? When I say judgment? Punishment, yes. Consequence, retribution. Whenever I hear those words, God's judgment, I think of God's wrath coming to me and chasing me like John Wick, like it's an unstoppable force. You know, it's gonna chase you. We don't like God's judgment, right? Scary to be judged. But here's the thing. Did you know that God's judgment is actually the greatest blessing in your life? I can tell by the way you're looking at me, either you don't believe me, or you don't understand what I'm saying, or you don't care. I'm hoping it's the first two. God's judgment is the blessing you don't want. Let me prove it to you. How many of you here, quick show of hands, okay? Just raise your hand if that's you.